From MTN News, this is Montana This Morning.
Good Wednesday morning. It's 5 o'clock. Welcome to Montana This Morning. I'm Victoria Hill. Thank you so much for starting your day with us. We begin with the latest on the Richard Spring Fire, which has forced hundreds of people from their homes in Rosebud County as it approaches 200,000 acres in size. The entire town of Lame Deer was told to evacuate, along with Ashland and people living along the Tongue River. Those communities are without power, and it could stay that way for days. Firefighters were able to start building fire lines late last night. As of Tuesday evening, the Richard Spring Fire was 3 miles away from Lame Deer and has jumped the Tongue River. Multiple communities have stepped up to help those displaced by the flames. An evacuation shelter is open in Busby at the Northern Cheyenne Tribal School. The Colstrip Saddle Club has agreed to provide shelter for horses. In Crow Agency, the multi-purpose building is open to Northern Cheyenne evacuees. Red Cross is on hand with beds and supplies, and Broadus Elementary School is available for those displaced by the flames. Now it's time to turn our attention to weather. Miller, that wind was just ongoing yesterday.
It was kicking, it sure was, and we have a chance to see it all over again today. The reason why today is we do have a cold front that's going to be dropping in from Canada, so we'll have those winds racing in ahead of that. And we'll tell you more about that cool down coming up here in just a bit. Just a little bit of light surface smoke this morning here in downtown Billings. Anticipating just light surface smoke today, so the air quality should be fair. That's shot there courtesy of the Stockman Bank weather cam. 62 right now at the airport, humidity at 52%. Winds out of the southwest at about 12 miles an hour. So it is breezy out there, and they could kick up again like yesterday. And speaking of yesterday, we got up to 90 degrees. Our overnight low got down to about 53. So warmer than normal, cooler than normal. And as Victoria was talking about those winds yesterday, top gust of 42 miles an hour. We could see some gusts over 30 to 35 miles an hour again today. No rain yesterday, no rain today, but there is the possibility of some rain in the forecast as we get into the weekend. And we're going to be hot today, cool tomorrow, hot again for the weekend, and then we cool right back down. So we're up and down with our temperatures. Out there right now, we're in the 50s and 60s. Highs today getting hotter, 80s and some mid-90s. And we'll tell you about that cool down coming up with the main forecast here in just a bit.
All right, just hoping it helps those fires some way, somehow.
Yes,
that's all you can ask for right now.
Calmer winds, hopefully, and maybe some moisture.
All right, Miller, thank you so much. I'll get back to news. Okay. 19 Republicans joined Senate Democrats to pass the landmark infrastructure deal, but Montana's Steve Daines was not one of them. He voted no, calling the bill a reckless tax and spending spree by congressional Democrats. The package calls for $1 trillion in spending, including $550 billion for roads, bridges, internet access, and clean drinking water. One of the bill's co-authors and biggest supporters was Senator Jon Tester. He says not only does the bill include billions just for Montana, but it will also help the nation remain a world power.
That will finally provide a once-in-a-century investment in our crumbling infrastructure and make sure that we maintain our competitive edge over China. And why that's important is because China wants to be the preeminent economic power in the world. If we don't do things like make investments in infrastructure, they may well be able to do that.
Tester hopes the House will pass the bill and get it on President Biden's desk sometime this fall. Meanwhile, early this morning, the Senate approved the framework for a budget resolution to support what President Biden called human infrastructure. The $3.5 trillion plan passed with a party line vote of 50 to 49. Since the package was a budget resolution, it only needed a majority vote to pass rather than needing the usual 60 votes. All 50 Democrats voted in favor of it. The package would create tuition-free kindergarten and community college, paid family leave, and extend child tax credits. It will also expand Medicare benefits and create grants to encourage companies to embrace clean energy. COVID-19 hospitalizations continue to grow, and there is real concern about cases in children. Nearly 94,000 new COVID cases in children were reported nationwide last week, the highest number of pediatric cases in nearly 6 months. The threat from the Delta variant comes as many kids head back to school with no clear federal guidance on masks. CBS's Bradley Blackburn has more.
As children head back to classrooms, the battle over masks is growing.
Kids cannot protect themselves.
From Texas to Florida, some students are pleading for mask mandates.
If we don't have this, many more people will die. I can die if people do not have their mask on.
It's a parent's decision. If you believe in the masking during the school, you're free to do it. No one's saying you can't do it.
Republican governors in both states have ordered school districts to not mandate masks, but some districts are defying them. Those districts have an ally in the White House.
If you're not interested in following the public health guidelines to protect the lives of people in your state, then get out of the way. Let local officials do their job to keep students safe.
Outside Houston, fifth grader Hope Nelson and her mom are petitioning their district. Hope has an immune disorder and is too young for a vaccine.
Honestly, I don't want to end up very sick. I don't want to end up in the ER, and I definitely don't want to end up dead.
The Delta-fueled surge is pushing many hospitals to the limit. This one in Houston set up tents outside to handle new patients. Staff in several states say they're strained.
The vaccine is absolutely something that you can all do to help. We are tired. We're at wit's end.
To help get that vaccine out to more of the population, the American Academy of Pediatrics is pushing the FDA to approve the shots for children ages 5 to 11. Bradley Blackburn, CBS News.
New CDC numbers show a sharp turnaround in the vaccination rate. It's doubled compared to a month ago, with the country averaging 441,000 new vaccinations a day. Now closer to home, Montana Fair officially opens in 2 days. The carnival is already here, and Metro Park officials say there's a lot to be excited about this year. However, there are some concerns as COVID-19 cases are on the rise locally and across the state. The fair will feature all of the sanitation protocols from last year, but masks will not be required. Overall, Montana Fair organizers just want people to have a great time.
After what we've been through now for the past 18 months, this is the time we want to come together and enjoy ourselves and have a wonderful time at Montana Fair this year.
Officials say with the grandstands now gone, they're excited to be able to show off the sheer size of the fairgrounds and will utilize some of that extra space. Despite hesitancy surrounding the COVID-19 vaccine, people are not losing faith in doctors, nurses, and other medical professionals. A new poll finds 7 in 10 people trust healthcare workers to do what is right for them and their families. The high levels of trust came from different groups of people, including Democrats, Republicans, men, women, and different ethnic groups. Experts say this trust could be an important tool in increasing vaccinations. Researchers have found what they say is the first detection of extensive exposure to COVID-19 in wildlife. MTN's Tanner Saul breaks down what this means for the future of the virus with people and animals.
It's not uncommon for us to see a deer crossing the street or in our backyard. White-tailed deer are abundant throughout the U.S., particularly near urban areas. New research has found that 1/3 of white-tailed deer in the northeastern United States have antibodies against COVID-19. We already know that COVID-19 can infect wildlife as well as domestic species. The possibility exists for the rise of wildlife to be a host for the virus where it can mutate and evolve, meaning rarer forms of the virus could form. This makes wildlife that are large in number and live close to people create the likelihood for the virus to spread from people to wild animals. The researchers say that this is the first detection of extensive exposure to the virus in wildlife. These results from a glance are concerning, but much more studies are necessary to find out if deer can infect each other and other species. What researchers now want to know is how coronavirus was spread to the deer, and they also want to know if the virus will spread from the infected deer to other wildlife or domestic animals like cattle. Since deer live in groups, this means coronavirus has the potential to spread naturally to individuals in the herd. It is also important to note that the researchers did not find the deer tested showed signs of being sick. With a considerable amount of infections in people combined with susceptible wildlife hosts, many scientists have pushed for more testing of wildlife. If the virus is transferring from people to wildlife, this could lead to a novel mutation of the virus, posing a risk to both people and wildlife health. Continuous infections in a novel host could lead to vaccine escape. Right now, the biggest mystery is how the deer got coronavirus in the first place. Was it through people, water, or other animals? There are still many vital questions that we will have to wait and see as more research progresses. In Missoula, Tanner Saul, MTN News.
Continuing our coverage as the search for a suspect carries on, we're learning more about this weekend's shooting in South Billings. 32-year-old Kevin White of Billings died from a single gunshot wound to the back. Officers responded to the shooting around 2:30 a.m. this past Sunday and found White lying on the ground near the corner of 3rd Avenue South and South 27th Street. Billings police detectives are investigating, but at this time, no arrests have been made. Take a look at this. The Lazy KT Motel is officially no more. Crews tore the building down yesterday afternoon. The Bird District, along with the business owners in the area, pitched in money to buy and destroy the property because it gained the reputation of being a hub for crime. The new owners have not announced their plans for the now empty lot. Also making headlines this morning, New York's incoming governor says she is prepared to lead following Andrew Cuomo's announcement that he will leave office 13 days from now. CBS's Ian Lee has details on Cuomo's resignation and what lies ahead for Kathy Hochul as she takes over.
New York Governor Andrew Cuomo is resigning in the wake of a sexual harassment scandal.
The best way I can help now is if I step aside and let government get back to governing.
The announcement by the 63-year-old Democrat comes a week after an independent investigation concluded.
Governor Cuomo sexually harassed current and former state employees.
In my mind, I've never crossed the line with anyone. But I didn't realize the extent to which the line has been redrawn.
Charlotte Bennett is one of 11 women who accuse Cuomo of acting inappropriately.
I thought he's trying to sleep with me.
Bennett's attorney says she is still processing the news.
Maybe this means the governor will stop denying her allegations.
In 13 days, Lieutenant Governor Kathy Hochul takes power.
To represent the entire state of New York is a high honor.
She will be the state's first female governor.
More participatory.
Christine Quinn, the first female and openly gay speaker of the New York City Council, says Hochul will govern with more outside input compared to Cuomo's walled-off style.
I think it's noteworthy that the first woman governor is being brought in to clean up a mess made by a man.
Democrats say they are still considering impeaching Cuomo, and if convicted, it would bar him from future state office. Ian Lee, CBS News.
Hochul is not considered part of Cuomo's inner circle and was not mentioned in the investigative report. Google and YouTube are putting new rules in place to make their platform safer for teens and young children. Now, users under 18 years old can request their images be removed from Google searches. Also, users under 18 won't be targeted for ads. Meanwhile, YouTube Kids will not be allowed to show ads that directly encourage kids to spend money or focus on product packaging. The changes will roll out in the coming months. Wildfire smoke has made it to the North Pole for the first time ever. NASA says the smoke is coming from Russia, where several regions are dealing with forest fires. NASA says the smoke traveled nearly 2,000 miles to reach the North Pole. Thank you so much for starting your Wednesday with us here on Montana This Morning. Coming up, we'll meet a woman who's unlocking doors for other women in her industry, all while proving doubters wrong along the way. It's 58 degrees in downtown Billings and the time is 5:13. Stay with us. We'll be right back.